HVAC 360 is brought to you today by Gelatin Mechanical Accessories. Don't have any room in your project? Already fitting 10 pounds of waste in your 5-pound bags? Well, relief is on its way with our gelatin accessories. You know what they say? There's always room for gelatin. Accessories, that is. Perfectly acceptable replacements for the more rigid accessories like fire and smoke dampers, duct transitions, large access doors. We may not be UL listed, but you will love us how easy we make your life. Jiggle over and get yours today. Hey everybody, welcome back. Matt Nelson here, your host for HVAC 360, helping you be the best and the brightest in the field of HVAC. Each week I'm either sharing information and lessons learned from the field or talking with industry experts. But I don't stop there. I want to encourage you to double down on your weekly helping of HVAC knowledge by hopping on over to HVAC360.com and join my growing community of people just like you. So, what is up for this week? This week, I'm going to take a little bit of a different tact. I'm going to try something new. What I'm going to do is I'm taking a look at a couple of the industry magazines. This one happens to be the High Performance Buildings that ASHRAE puts out. And I'm going to give a little article summary. So, if you're like me, you don't really enjoy reading. And if it's coming to you through your earphones, hey, all the better. So this one in particular is about the LinkedIn Net Zero Energy Building that happened in Sunnyvale, California. Now, what they were doing, they were taking this an existing building and they wanted to transition it into a new net zero energy building. It was kind of a test project for LinkedIn. They wanted to see if they could do it. What they did is they took and they replaced the existing boilers and rooftops, and they threw in, no surprise, they threw in a VRF system, and they also used, they basically separated it out, so they had 4 DOAS units with demand control ventilation. Now, obviously, they had heat recovery in those DOAS units to provide a little bit extra energy efficiency. Curiously enough, they decided on plate and frame rather than any sort of energy wheel. Now, this is a better option if you want it to be a little bit more maintenance friendly, but you don't get any of those latent benefits that you would with an energy recovery wheel. I guess that wasn't a big deal in this particular climate. So, the one thing that was kind of curious, the project did have, and again, I guess a lot of these things are going to be curious. They're just things that popped out at me, and so I'm summarizing them for you. In the project, it was a single-story building, and they didn't have a lot of daylighting options, so they ended up putting like 20 skylights in, and they used motorized dampers to be able to prevent glare so you wouldn't get too much sunlight, and they did that. The goal for the whole project was to try to get an EUI of 30 kilobtu's per square foot per year. And this was they were hoping that was going to be their energy usage of the building, and so they were also looking to pair that with solar panels. Now, the problem with solar panels on an existing roof, obviously, it needed to be reinforced. You're really adding a lot of weight to an existing roof, so they had to kind of jump through some hoops to make sure that they would be able to do that and make it happen. One nice thing that they did, since they took the insulation, they moved it above the roof deck, and they were able to remove the existing drop ceiling. Now, this building, again, a single story, it was about 15 feet floor to roof deck. So what they were able to do, in addition to that, is they were able to add 17 7-foot diameter smart fans. So these are kind of, I guess I envision, they didn't really explain it any further than that, but I envision these being like your big-ass fans that, just slowly moving and circulating air. Obviously, it's an office environment, so they didn't want to make it, too much of a hassle, but or too much of an airflow. But even a little, slight airflow can make significant difference when you're trying to cool occupants. So one of the things shortly after they did occupy, they realized they were about 20% off from their net zero target. One of the things that they did realize is that the occupants had switched. Originally, they had planned for some support staff, but it was changed from that to engineering staff. So surprise! And the plug loads for the engineering staff were just, just quite a bit higher. So going down the road a little bit more, they actually had changed some staff. They kind of this space, I guess, has a lot of different uses, and I guess the engineering staff moved out, and some new staff moved in. And one of the things they did that was kind of creative was they actually had a plug load reduction competition. They used an energy dashboard in the main lobby, and they were able to identify. Have one side of the building be one team, and another side of the building be the other team. And it was amazing because that they were able to reduce, each side was able to reduce about 25% of their plug load. So that's really significant. So after the first 12 months, their EUI, originally it was higher. It was the 40 kilobTUs per square foot per year. They did get it down to, after they used this measurement verification and analyzed the whole thing, they were able to get it down to that 30 EUI goal. However, on the flip side, their panels, they had some inverter issues. So the panels didn't quite do what they were saying that they were going to do, and they were down to about 20 EUI. So they really didn't, or 20 kilobTUs per square foot per year. So they really were falling short on that generation, but still drastically different. Some of the things that they learned throughout the process was that they made some changes. Originally, the DOAS units had VFDs and VAVs, but because they noticed that this is going to be pretty much a constant occupancy when the building is occupied, there wasn't going to be a lot of changes. So the benefit of actually throttling back outside air for any particular area of the building wasn't going to be there. So they ended up saving about around $100,000 by removing VFDs and VAVs from those 4 DOAS units. They also took a look at whether or not solar hot water was an option. And really, interestingly enough, they found that, using the PV, using electric domestic hot water with the straightforward PV was a lot better option than using the solar hot water. So that was a trade-off that they analyzed, they looked at, and they found that, hey, you know what? The solar hot water just didn't work in this situation. Another thing that they took a look at was that they took a look at comparing whether or not they should add insulation to the perimeter walls, again, in existing buildings. So they made a lot of these trade-offs. They also had some slot perimeter windows, and they noticed that, by adding slightly more PV than replacing or adding insulation to the exterior walls or replacing the windows that were already existing, by adding more PV, it actually was more cost effective than doing the insulation or window replacement. So all this was done, and I guess this was kind of new to me because obviously I'm located here in the Midwest, but the goal there, I guess there is a California goal for office buildings to be net zero by 2020, which was one of those things that I found really interesting. So I hope this was interesting to you. Thanks so much for listening. Give me any feedback. You can reach me at matt@hvac360.com and just send me and see if you like this little article summary that I did, and then I can do more of them. So I'm going to do one next week, and then we'll see where it goes from there. So if you know anybody who's looking for more information about net zero, and consider passing this one along. That's probably the best way that you can get the word out there for HVAC 360 is just to pass along the word to coworkers, to new people in the industry, and to other friends. So I appreciate you. If you're not a subscriber, consider joining the growing community of people just like you over at HVAC360.com for some more weekly goodness. And obviously, I would be greatly honored if you would consider leaving me a rating on Apple Podcast. Also, as a side note, I do show up on YouTube now. They're being simultaneously issued. If you don't, even if you don't listen, you use your podcast app, and you don't go on YouTube and listen to it there, I would really greatly appreciate you going over and subscribing, and that allows me to do a lot of stuff, even if you don't listen to it there. So I would really appreciate that. Well, that's a wrap for this week and this episode of HVAC 360. I'm Matt Nelson, helping you be the best and the brightest in the field of HVAC. And as always, know what you build and share what you know.